Thank you very much, Roxy. Thank you very much, Sunday morning rain strollers. For some of us, rain is maybe not so pleasant. For about 700 million farmers, this is, of course, key. Let me give you a bit of context. First of all, this is probably part of my Dutch humor, but also my Dutch respect for these poor farmers that live in Southeast Asia and basically in Sub-Saharan Africa. Center stage on the left hand from me, on the right hand side of Roxy, is of course for these forgotten stakeholders. That's why I'm sitting here on the margins. So who are actually out there is 1.9 billion water insecure people. 1 billion rural poor are sitting on those 4 chairs in front of you. So that's the ones you're going to dialogue with. What happened over the last couple of years, just a little context. Food prices exploded. I just checked the website. Maize, rice, soy, they have all doubled in price. It's quite astonishing what that does to our pockets here in rich Sweden. Actually, very little, but it is the difference, of course, for people that live of it. Fertilizers have trebled. That's another nice thing if you are not a farmer, but if and when you're making your livelihood of farming, that's not necessarily a good thing. So in other words, farming is quite a hazardous undertaking, and it's our job together with these billion farmers to make that a less hazardous, a less risky undertaking. If we fail, then everybody moves to the cities, as you know, which is not necessarily bad, but not always what is the best for cultures, for migration, and of course for political processes. So in one way or another, water security, water for security is a debate that leads to water for peace and development as well. Maybe you want to bring that up today, maybe you do not want to bring that up today, but let's not overload this agenda. Meantime, many governments have been successful in combating rural poverty. It's not a message of gloom and doom that I'm here to share with these billion people. However, due to these externalities of prices and nowadays very famous climate change, people are not necessarily climbing out of poverty as we used to see in the early 2000s. So what are we discussing here this morning? What is the difference that microirrigation can make in people's lives? Well, actually, we will share with you, and you will share with the stakeholders, as Roxy indicated, some different lenses, some different scenarios, some different dimensions. I think what is likely not new to you is participatory approaches that ought not to be new to you. So I'm not going into that. Our participants may. What I would like to challenge you on is please explore with us a market chain approach, a business model approach, something that goes away from the romantic handholding and the lack of weaning off, which usually typifies public-led development processes. So that was a major change for IFAD itself, because we are government, or we work through government mostly. Roxy indicated that there's some new stuff there. We work very strongly with NGOs, and can I have a show of hands for all those NGOs that actually are involved with this Campis project? Can you raise your hand, the ones that are, just raise them. I mean, you can not like little shitty lists, just raise them. Okay. So people in the front rows can't see the people in the back rows, but as the back rows will come to the front, you may then engage with them. Right. So different dimensions, very important for us. We want to combine innovations with investments, with infrastructure, of course the institutions. Welcome. We have another set of abbreviations, the AAA. It's not the Automobile Association. It is to do with accessibility, availability, and affordability. Please go ahead. There's plenty of space on my left-hand side. Va bene. Or wherever you like to sit or stand up. These aspects, these multiple I's, these multiple A's, are aspects that I would like you to probe our stakeholders on and see what is real behind those slogans, because we are very often stuck in slogans. Now, you have read on the introduction that this particular program on micro-irrigation has somehow changed the lives of 30,000 households. And you say, so what? There's another 999 million people out there whose lives we have not touched upon. So how are we going to deal with that? And in our way of thinking, that has to do with scaling up successful methodologies, not successful technologies. It's a methodology. It's this approach, this market chain approach. And we think it may have some benefits for more than just 30,000 people. We will listen to our colleagues from India, which government has incorporated elements of this approach in its policy to uplift the tribals and scheduled castes. We will listen to colleagues from Madagascar who are likely to take this to the Comoros and the Seychelles and further on in Madagascar. We will certainly hear from our colleagues from Guatemala, where they are engaged in a process to bring in these changes in a whole series, a whole set of partners on rural development, fighting malnutrition. So with that, I think we will get an overview as indicated by Roxy from private sector. So Sybil will address you. I would like you to challenge us on this most significant change. And as you do, you will walk out this room probably convinced that most significant changes are possible. And that's the whole idea of this event. Thank you very much. Sybil, may I have you on the floor? Oh,
sorry. As Rudolf mentioned, Rudolf gave you the public sector dimension. So as I mentioned, this is a joint public sector and private sector partnership. And we all know that small and medium sector, small and medium scale private sector activities have enormous potential to drive development. But we also know that for the business models to work, everybody at all levels need to be engaged. So the work has to be done at the individual level, at the community level, and at the private sector level. And to make sure that all the interests are met, this is not an easy feat. And we have learned that in order for it to work, we really need to adopt a holistic approach. And I have now the pleasure to give the floor to Sibel, who will talk about and share with us why they partnered with a public organization for a micro-irrigation food security project. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. Good morning also from my side. My name is Sibylle Anwander. I'm the head of sustainability and public affairs with COPE Switzerland. And I'm here as the representative of Copernic, the funder, the donor of this project, Scampis. I've learned yesterday evening only that we also are a forgotten stakeholder from the business side. So I want to bring you in my perspective why we have engaged in this project. It's not really a story, so I'm rather bringing in a more formal speech. But I think it's important also to see what kind of visions we had to be engaged in such a project and what we learned, what lessons we took out of this experience. Well, Scampis is a social project. That means it's not directly linked to a value chain, to a sourcing value chain of ours. It's financed by Copernic. That's a strategic alliance with the aim of common sourcing, formed by 5 European retailers: Conad in Italy, Colruyt in Belgium, Coop in Switzerland, Leclerc in France, and Rewe in Germany and some Eastern European countries. Already here we have these multicultural and multilinguistic problems, and it has been expanded to such an interesting, long-lasting project. All 5 members are organized as cooperative, And Copernic, and even more its 5 members, are very much concerned about ensuring the supply of high-quality food for their consumers in long-term perspective. We have heard about the climate change, we have heard about high-rocketing prices that are also concerns for retailers. With the growing world population, the resources becoming more and more scarce, and the already tangible impacts of the climate change, at least in some countries, this needs a good understanding of the food value chains as well as well-targeted investment. Water, or better, its scarcity, is one of the most pressing issues regarding food chains. There are different ways to tackle this problem of water scarcity. For example, to sensitize end consumers by water footprint, for example, but also to make aware decision makers about this pressing issue. Another way to tackle the issue is to bring in this issue in the development of international standards like global gap or fair trade. But the most straightforward way seems to work together with organizations, with other actors, to develop pilot projects and then multiply the lessons learned. That is how the collaboration with IFAD started. The aim of the Campus project was to help smallholders to improve their own situation with regard to food security, as we will hear, but also to increase the production in order to sell part of the production on the market, on the local market first, but also as a first step towards access to national and even international markets. The approach proposed by IFAD was to address the problem of water scarcity by the distribution and implementation of micro-irrigation systems linked to organic liquid fertilizers, and bring this to smallholders and poor rural households. For Copernic, a sustainable solution has to address all 3 dimensions of the sustainability concept. That means reduce the ecological impact and increase also the resilience to ecological changes, but also to improve the social situation of the stakeholders, and also to prove to be economically sound. Therefore, one main objective of the Campus project was to facilitate the development of local markets, including post-sale services for micro-irrigation kits. This approach was new, innovative, and it was also the result of a unique partnership, as it was the first time that the International Fund for Agricultural Development, as a UN organization and a non-for-profit organization, first worked together with a private partner. With IFAD, we from Copernic found a professional partner with a good international reputation in the field. And with this public-private partnership, a lot of contrary perspective and attitude clashed together. Both sides, we had to listen, try to understand, and show willingness to engage in new approaches. But the combination of the experience from both the non-profit development organization and the market and the business perspective on the other side proved to be very valuable for getting a solid and sustainable project. But not only the exchange between the partners IFAD and Copernic was important, but also the exchange of experiences among the 3 countries involved boosted the project establishment. We will see that the exchange between the project partners in India, Madagascar, and Guatemala turned to be very rewarding. It was also a very interesting lesson to learn that the situation in the 3 countries was so different that even the project goals had to be adapted. With one exception, although, the target to reach 10,000 poor households in each of the 3 countries, that was fixed. But in comparing the strategies with others, learning from one another how to overcome certain obstacles and to get advice when they were struggling, that was fruitful and beneficial for all partners involved. And for Copernic, boosting the south-to-south know-how transfer has always been one of the project goals. The Scampis project was so inspiring that Coop Switzerland, where I'm working at, and as a member of Copernic, we integrated the experiences of the Scampis project into other value chains with the same success. I can give you two examples. The one is the building up of an organic and fair trade cocoa production chain in Honduras, all certified, and producing cocoa in an agroforestry system. The cocoa is then sold to a factory, a chocolate factory belonging to our group Coop. This certified organic and fair trade cocoa value chain had to be established from scratch, as in 1998 the Hurricane Mitch destroyed almost the whole cocoa production in Honduras. This region is also highly affected by deforestation and has decreasing availability of fresh water. But before any micro-irrigation kit was distributed, the village community evaluated with external experts how much water from which spring is available. Again, it was not the intention of Coop to finance nice new micro-irrigation kits for the cocoa farmers. The project also here was about establishing a stable local market for micro-irrigation kits together with the local smallholders. Thanks to the micro-irrigation system, food security as well as the diversification of income is now improved in 5 cocoa producing villages by increasing the production of fruit and vegetable and selling the surpluses on the local market. Another example is our cotton sourcing from also organic and fair trade from Tanzania, from farmer communities there. During the dry season, it's difficult to maintain a steady fresh water supply from surface water. Many villages lack also good wells, so instead of just sponsoring such wells, the on-site non-profit organization called BioRe Association assisted the communities in building up water consumer groups, and only by establishing these water consumer groups, they were helped and sponsored to build up or restore the wells. By now, a total of 47 new and restored wells can be counted. Coop covered the costs of half of them. But what are the lessons learned anyway? We have learned that it is essential to include all people concerned and let them participate and exchange. On a base where all aspects for sustainable development are included, the social, the ecological, as well as the economic factor, projects really gain local impact, as we will hear, long after the last payment from donors reached the country. As food retailers, Copernic and Coop showed corporate responsibility with regard to the important issue of water scarcity by financing and supporting social projects in alliance with non-profit organizations. Capacity building and involvement of local stakeholders, market orientation on all levels, and flexibility to react to the needs of local populations was key for the success of the project. I would like to take the opportunity and thank the Scampis team at IFAD, as well as the responsible leaders in the 3 countries for all their efforts they had put in to improve the livelihood for poor rural families. I thank for the inspiring collaboration we have experienced during the 3 years, or more than 3 years. It has been also for me personally an exciting experience, although I had only had the chance to visit the project in Madagascar, but however we met and exchanged a lot of insights. I thank especially Rudolf and his team at IFAD for their openness to our sometimes critical questions, and also for the development of a special monitoring and evaluation tool. We will hear about that later on. The thorough reports they had to give in every 6 months helped me to communicate the progress, the achievement of the project to the board of the directors at Copernic. But I think it helped also the project team to remain focused on the quantitative targets as well as the budget. And we have developed a common understanding on how to measure the results of the project. Output data like kilogram tomatoes harvested or the number of MIS kits distributed normally help to oversee the project, of course. But what counts at the end is the impact. How has the project changed the financial situation, the nutritional status, or the self-esteem of the participating families? And as you will see, these impacts have been so positive, reported in many statements, stories, and interviews, that I can only hope that the Scampis project will be expanded to other regions and other countries. I am indeed very proud of what we have achieved together. Consumers from rich countries, which will be concerned about these issues, maybe only in the future, and poor farmers in three countries struggling against the challenge of water scarcity. Thank you very much, and I hope you will learn a lot during this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sibel, and thank you for being a great partner. And thank you. You know, it is not really easy to work with private sector for us because sometimes the whole vision and the goals are different. But with you guys, it was different. And as you said, I think the openness on both fronts was really what made this thing to work. So thank you very much. Okay, now before hearing the stories, you're going to be hearing from the mother of this project. Cecilia has been nurturing this project for 3 years, and she has been the one who has been pushing all of us. She's been sharing the achievements of this project. She's been working with all of the stakeholders on this project, and she really has taken it upon herself to make this project work. So it is a pleasure to give the floor to Cecilia, who will be talking about the M&E of this, the methodology that she's used to actually take this project forward. One word about Cecilia is what her earnestness and her enthusiasm has been really contagious over these 3 years. And she has taken some risks because she has broke the mold, and she has tried quite a number of new things. And I'm sure you'll be delighted to see the results. Cecilia.
Wow, what an introduction.